Hello everyone, welcome to queerpublicradio.com. My name's Cisco.
And I'm Rob, and we're with BackintheGays.com,
a blog committed to stories and events that happened back in the days in the LGBT community. Well, welcome to our show, June 5th, 2011. Out, gay, and loving it with pride in New York City, June 2011. In honor of Pride Month 2011, we are taking it to the streets with pre-recorded interviews,
history tidbits,
LGBT art,
LGBT culture,
LGBT music,
and chats with Christopher Street youth beginning June 5th through the 12th and airing on June 19th. All the different aspects of our community and the different contributions to society our community gives. What does Pride mean to you?
Well, Pride means to me exactly what we're doing here, Rob. Showcasing and spotlighting what our community gives and the different contribution that we give to society. That society might take for granted, or things we may forget that we do that makes us the uber powerful LGBT community that we are. So things like this definitely are what makes Pride that much more meaningful to me. Being from New York City, being gay, and proud. Definitely. What does Pride mean to you?
Well, Cisco, Pride means to me, being from Philadelphia, growing up in Philadelphia and moving to New York in the 90s, I've seen a lot of different changes, a lot of different people. And Pride means to me that being equal, loving everybody, knowing you're not alone out there. And we're proud, and we should be proud, and we shouldn't hide. This is our month, and this is our time, and we should make a definite statement this June, and throughout the year. Every day should be Pride.
So true, so true. And doing things like this definitely reminds us that we are the powerful LGBT community that we are, and that we should be reminded daily that without a lot of the things that we rely on as a society on a daily basis, that we contribute these things.
Who would have thought 42 years later we'd be where we are now, even though we haven't gotten everything that we deserve as a community. Good things come to those who wait, but we're tired of waiting.
Yeah, now it's time to become a little bit more militant and make sure the Pride parade is more of a Pride march with the camp and all the different things that have given us the rights that we have today. But we have to make sure that, it's about making a statement about what we deserve as human beings, above and beyond being gay, lesbian, transgender, or questioning. Our sexuality doesn't dictate what our rights should be.
And we can't forget camp either, because if it wasn't for camp, people may have died that night in 1969. We kept the cops on their toes. We kept them guessing. They didn't know which way we were going. Hell, I don't think sometimes we know which way we're going. But we know we're going the right way. And we can't forget that camp was part of the first riot that happened back in 1969.
Yeah, definitely. Well, talking about actually the riot, I would actually like to touch on a post that we did on BackintheGays.com, our blog, on March 9th, 2011, titled Harlem, Brooklyn, the Bronx, Before Stonewall. Because all these things were happening in the outer boroughs before Stonewall, and also in Philadelphia and a lot of different parts of the world, for that matter. So Harlem started in 1945, a filmmakers' ball that was held every Thanksgiving, which lasted into the 1960s. Strutting and prancing, LGBT blacks and Hispanic impersonators would fill the Harlem Rockland Palace with elaborate handmade gowns. This was before Sally's Hideaway and Sally's Hideaway 2. This was a time in New York City when going out really meant going out, and each outfit were hand-stitched to perfection. While everyone was inside strutting their stuff and having a good time for prizes, police would wait for them outside Harlem's Rockland Palace. And as they left, police would arrest or harass them. I just can't believe that other people would put humans through that. I mean, that just amazes me reading this. And even when we wrote it originally, women were, of course, not immune to the backlash of the police brutality, excuse me. And if not wearing at least 3 pieces of women's clothing, they were also arrested for impersonation. During this time, African American and Hispanics were also being discriminated against by their own brothers and sisters within the gay community from other ethnicities. The video that we have posted with this post, African American lesbians tell their story on how they paid an awful lot of dues so that the younger people of today can feel the freedom to walk along holding hands. Sort of like you and I do, Rob.
Yeah, sometimes we get those stares.
Well, yeah, we're big burly guys and we look so, intimidating as far as physically, but, people forget that, we are big teddy bears and we like to show affection to the person that we love. So they also mention how the struggle towards equality was also being fought in the boroughs like the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Harlem before Stonewall. It was an unfortunate time when bars and clubs in the boroughs were also burned down or raided and closed. This was to have people patron other bars in the city that were not making as much money as Harlem and the outer boroughs. Those bars and clubs were usually in the village and would sadly enough take their money, but would still treat them like an outsider or a second-class citizen for that matter.
And the 1940s to the 1960s, Harlem and the outer boroughs of New York City provided spaces, places, and events for the LGBT community through bars, nightclubs, and ballrooms. But they were no less susceptible to the police raids and poor treatment that came along with being LGBT. The chances they took, the fun they had, was it worth it? I say yes.
Definitely. I know if I was around during that time, I definitely wouldn't change it at all. I know I definitely wouldn't change anything that has happened to me in my lifetime now. And I'm still proud of it at 39, and I would still be proud of it back then. Meeting you and meeting Tom from QueerPublicRadio.com, just different people that we've been meeting during us coming out of our comfort zone and doing things like this and really trying to make a difference within our community are definitely things that I would never, ever have changed, or I would never change at all.
Or take for granted.
Exactly. So our next history tidbit is going to be...
It's going to be about the early morning of June 28th, 1969 at the Stonewall Inn in New York City. This blog post was written on Monday, June 28th, 2010.
And where was it written?
It was written
where?
In New York City. Oh, on BackintheGays.com.
Oh, okay.
The Stonewall Inn, located on Christopher Street, along with a few other establishments in the city, were run by the Genovese family. During 1966, a few members of the Mafia invested $3,500 to turn the Stonewall Inn into a gay establishment, after it had been a nightclub and a restaurant for straights. Every week, a police officer would stop by to collect cash as a payoff, because at the time, the Stonewall Inn had no license to serve liquor. There was no running water behind the bar, and used drink glasses were run through vats of dirty water and then reused. During that whole time, there were no fire exits, and the toilets consistently overran. Though there was no sign of prostitution, drug sales and other cash transactions were taking place. This was the only gay bar for men in New York where dancing was allowed, and dancing was its main attraction since it reopened as a gay club. People that visited Stonewall in 1969 were viewed first through a peephole by a bouncer who inspected them before entering. You had to be 18 to enter, and to avoid plain-clothed police officers who were called Lily Law, or Alice Blue Gown, or Betty Badge, patrons of the bar would have to be known by the bouncer or look gay.
I love Betty Badge. Sorry.
Oh, and Alice Bluegown.
Yeah.
To get in on the weekends, it was $3, but that included 2 tickets that you could turn in for 2 drinks. Whether you wanted to drink those drinks or not, I don't know, but you had that option.
Especially coming out of those glasses, the mugs.
That's what Tree said,
Yeah.
which you'll hear about later. Guests were required to sign their name in a book to show that the bar was a private bottle club, but rarely signed their real names. There were 2 dance floors in the Stonewall Inn. The interior was painted black, making it very dark inside and hard to see with pulsing lights or black lights. When police were spotted, plain white lights were turned on, signaling that everyone should stop dancing or touching. Well, things have changed, but have they really?
Mm-hmm.
In the back of the bar, there was a smaller room commonly filled by queens. It was one of 2 bars where the effeminate men who wore makeup and teased their hair, though they were dressed in men's clothing, were welcomed. Only a handful of transvestites or men in drag were allowed in. Customers were 98% male, with a few lesbians sprinkled in. Younger male hustlers who slept in the nearby Christopher Park would often persuade customers to buy them drinks. The clientele usually consisted of people in their upper teens and early 30s. There were even a mix of whites, blacks, and Hispanics. Stonewall Inn was known by many as the gay bar in the city. Police frequently raided gay bars in that time, occurring on an average once a month for each bar. Most bars had a secret panel behind the bar which held the extra liquor, or they kept it in a car down the street just in case alcohol was seized. Bar management knew of the raids usually before due to police tip-offs, and raids usually occurred early in the evening, so that once this happened and they got what they wanted, the bar could reopen and go on for the evening. A typical raid would consist of the lights being turned on. The customers were lined up with their identification cards out. Customers without identification cards or dressed in drag were arrested. Some were allowed to leave. Few of the men, including those in drag, used their draft cards as identification. Women were arrested if not found wearing 3 pieces of feminine clothing. Boy, Cisco, that was a stickler back then, huh?
Yeah, tell me about it.
Employees as well as management of the bars were typically arrested. Immediately, the period before June 28, 1969, it was marked by frequent raids of local bars, including a raid at Stonewall Inn the Tuesday night before the riots and the closing of the Checkerboard, the Telstar, and a few other nightclubs in Greenwich Village.
Wow, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, it just shows what and how everything went down the night of sexual liberation, the start of it. That was documented anyway. I mean, because of course that was the major night, but it was definitely happening in the outer boroughs. It was happening in Philadelphia. It was happening throughout the country. It just happened to happen. It just happened here, with the most impact, where it was documented.
On May 14th, 2011, just before 1 p.m., we find ourselves standing in front of the historic Stonewall Inn bar at 53 Christopher Street, just east of 7th Avenue, waiting to meet up with Tree Sequoia, a Stonewall veteran, a member of the Imperial Court of New York, and the current bartender of the new Stonewall Inn bar. In this clip, we find Tree reminiscing about good friends, the late Rue McClanahan and the very lively Joyce Randolph, Trixie from the Honeymooners. Let's hear the clip.
Excellent. That was such a fun time. Enjoy, everyone.
Rue McClanahan and Joyce Randolph, Trixie of the Honeymooners, go out sipping cocktails with an elderly gentleman at the West Village Gay Bar of the Monster. I call him up. I go, "You're 84, you're 76, And I'm the elderly gentleman.
That's funny.
They couldn't stop laughing. It was so bad. Well,
Oh,
Oh, I know.
yeah, she was,
she signed her book here. She
really?
Her
Wow.
son said, Trey, I don't believe the places you took my mother. I took her to a little Spanish bar, drag queen bar, cross-dressing bar, all black,
Yeah.
gay, straight. She just wanted to go out because she wrote a book about her 5 husbands.
Hmm.
She was married to Marla, her 6th. She kept throwing him out. He was horrible. She even said he's a book in his own.
Hmm.
So she needed somebody to have fun with her. He was a beautiful, handsome fourth Broadway star.
Hmm.
Married her, never worked again, got as fat as a cow, and lived off her money.
Wow.
Wow. It's a shame.
Yeah, I saw that she was, because we knew a cab driver that had met her one night. She got in the cab and he took her right home.
Yeah.
In certain place.
Yeah, that's what you said. That's right.
He was excited. Oh my God, he had to sign $1 and everything.
You left the door?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, she's a person. But then she had the throat
Yeah.
operation, the knee operation, the ankle, the tits, everything.
That's basically a sample flyer of the show in June. And yeah, it's going to be the whole month of June, and we haven't decided yet if it's going to be a two day out of the week, like Wednesday and Saturday, or just Saturday. Yeah, and it's going to be.
Honored because, normally if I'm behind a bar and the owners are around and somebody comes in from another country or city and goes, we need to know what's going on for our magazine, and he points to me and goes, ask Granny. The owners are allowed to call me Granny or Grandma, either one.
So you were here the night it all happened?
Well, the bar was there,
Oh, that was
the
the bar.
dance salon. This was
Okay.
the dance floor. It was an arch. Now, underneath those poles here, because they're fancy, remember this was 42 years ago. This was like a bagel notch, Chinese restaurant. There's poles like this. I was dancing right by that, and I tell the truth to anybody. And I'm dancing with my friend Charlie and Frank, and somebody taps me on the shoulder and says, would you like to dance? I said, I don't dance with colored people. And the guy goes, thank you very much, walked away. It was a different time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We didn't know what Puerto Ricans were, because all the drag queens were Puerto Ricans. If a Puerto Rican guy came over and said, I'm Puerto Rican, we wouldn't believe him.
Yeah.
As far as we knew, Gypsy, Sylvia Rivera, Chi, they were all Puerto Ricans, and we thought only men Puerto Ricans became drag queens. Nobody knew what leather. Leather was your wallet, your belt. There was no leather in here. Fag hands and lesbians. You did all the dances with except the slow one. The line dances, the stroll, the lindy, the cha-cha. Like I was at a Spanish bar one day and I'm dancing with somebody like crazy, spinning them, and somebody goes, Trey, oh my God, I didn't know you can salsa. I said, I can't. When I was a kid, this was called a mambo. Same dance,
But
different names.
you were good to go. Wow. Yeah, I read that it was once much bigger, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Upstairs now. This was blocked off. The entrance was on that side.
Oh, okay.
Sure wrecked the place.
That's crazy. So you're originally from New York?
Born in Brooklyn.
Wow. That's great. That's great. And I saw that you now did you work for Club 82 or did you?
Oh, I lived there.
Oh, that was just
like
your.
once every couple of weeks, about 20, 30 of us. You saw the picture.
Yeah, I saw the picture.
Always grew.
Great.
And my 25th, I think it was, or 30th birthday. That's when everybody's on the stage and I'm holding a cake with one black candle. That was either my 25th or 30th birthday.
Oh, wow.
The entire cast were our friends, so
That's great.
they used to bring us out bottles of water with vodka in it because the mafia was owning it,
Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
and they used to smuggle us booze
Yeah.
because they were our friends. We'd go out with them, hang out with them.
That's so cool.
They couldn't quit. If they quit, they got beat up.
Wow.
Wow, really?
Different
And
time.
to quit, they had to actually leave everything they owned behind. If they saw them packing up, they go, why?
That's amazing. Such a different time.
Oh,
Yeah.
Now we've been there as the Bijou, but I never knew what the history was about it, and then learning all this history about it's just been
well,
great.
years ago, we had the 82 Club, the Jewel Rock Review, and the Crazy Horse. Nobody lip synced. You either had a 3-piece band, a 5-piece band, or a 10, 15-piece band like the 82 Club, Jukebox Review. 40 men and a girl. That's how big the cast was. Just like a Broadway show, but it was all drag queens.
And that was with Stormy, right?
It was Stormy DeLevette, who's now in a nursing home, but 91 years old. She's now 78 because she changes every other week. And sometimes she actually thinks she's still at the Hotel Chelsea.
It's a shame.
That's a travesty what happened to her. She never happened at all.
Every time, well, wherever I worked and she came in, she never had to pay for a drink because she was a premier dyke of New York City.
Yeah, she was in the front lines, right?
She was one of the, they thought it was a guy and they hit her and it took 2 cops to pull her off the car. You know, everybody says, who threw the first high heel? There was no high heel thrown. It was rocks, bottles, gas tray, anything we could find on the streets. There was parking over there. And 2 people just did this until all of a sudden, big chunk of concrete on the bottom. They use it as a battering ram to knock the doors down.
Wow, that's
It's a
insane.
different time. So the depictions we hear are basically are pretty much the same.
Well, the book, I've read so many books, and that movie Stonewall was so horrible.
That's what we were wondering too.
I mean, come on, picture drag queens in the 50s and 60s taking a train wearing a mink coat. I'd beat them up. And, it was like, they asked people who heard about it or weren't even here. Like everybody, they fight with that person that runs the Stonewall Veterans Association.
Yeah.
Every time she wants an interview, she wants to be paid. And she said she has the Stonewall car. Now, people say that when they see the car, all the serial numbers have been wiped off because it's a 70, not a 69. And plus the fact that the New Yorker magazine wrote how much of a phony she was.
Oh, wow.
They said they checked. There wasn't a cop that knew about this car being impounded. There was no car that got a ticket.
That's amazing.
And when people like from all over the world go, they go, I just was over there. That's Stonewall Veterans. I asked her for a couple of quotes. She wants money, a big donation, $500. And
Minimum.
I was here one day when she had a party with a couple of congressmen. And they're writing a check because she's got 1 million people who would vote for them. And she said, oh, well, make it out to my name or cash because I'm having trouble with my Stonewall veteran account.
Yes.
Right in the pocket. But she works out of her office, so her home, so that's a big tax write-off too.
Yeah.
You know, I can say the same thing. When I write, I can say I use my house as that, but my rent's only $380. I'm not going to fight with anybody.
Hey,
Exactly. I'm there 43 years.
Wow.
it's the least you should have.
That's exactly.
So now what do you want? What are we going to do?
Oh, well, just general talking.
Okay.
Because then we're gonna
Yeah, that's what everybody's
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, recording and everything.
Okay, so
Yeah, just really
well,
bad.
the night of the Stonewall riots, as I said, I was in here with friends. My friend Frankie Bubbles, because he was a little chunky, we called him Bubbles, and Charlie P. He works at the center. He volunteers a lot. And we were dancing here with our friends. And somebody came over and asked me to dance. I said, I don't dance with colored people. And he left. And Mario was the bartender, Mae West. And he couldn't give us the liquor under the bar because that was the good stuff. Anything else shown, we knew that night they filled anything white with water. God knows what they put in the brown bottles. So we said, let's get out of here. We left. And we were hanging out. And I worked as a manager waiter at a restaurant around the corner, which was known for homosexuals, called the Mama's Chick and Ribs. In fact, I'm trying to get a copy. It made the front page of the Daily Mirror in the 60s as a homosexual hangout. Now, this is before everybody knew about gay bars.
Yeah.
And Mama, the woman who owned it, this little Greek woman, she wore the same dress 6 months. She had a wart here with hair. My boys don't do that. My boys are good boys. They're nicer boys, they're quieter boys. None of this. No, my boys don't do that.
Was that the place that they would fog up the windows so that?
Yeah, we used that. We used to put the heat and air conditioning on so we could have a private party. And everybody would eat and drink what they wanted. And then we'd pass 2 buckets around. And everybody put money in the first bucket for Mama. Then the second bucket was our tips. Jerry, myself, Gavin. And then I would sit at the register and take a handful of money out, write 2 hamburgers, 1 roast beef sandwich, ring it in. And she'd come in the next day, whoa, nice a day. And we wouldn't even eat there because we knew how bad the food was. And there was a hole, and every once in a while you could see where the rats chewed on cheese and ham in the refrigerator. She would cut that off and serve.
Wow.
She'd walk up to your table and go, too many French fries, and bring them right back in the kitchen.
Wow.
But it was at home.
Yeah.
We didn't want to go to bars. We knew who owned them. We knew the water was looking down. Some of the kids were too young. Well, in those days, to be at 15, and you had the dollar to get to a bar, they served you. Because drinking age was 18.
Oh, okay.
And so they served anybody, but it wasn't fun. We had fun at Mama's Chicken. Cliff Corso, not Cliff Corso, I'm sorry, Cliff, Tony and Guana. There's some of them are still alive. Their group was Brooklyn. They sat at one or two at the tables here. We were here. But we all loved each other.
Yeah.
Vito Russo was part of us.
Oh, wow.
I have pictures at home that I'm gathering them. I found one of him and his mom, backyard, where we're all swimming in a swimming pool at one of his house parties in Lodi, New Jersey. I'm putting them all on the discs. And then I'm going to take the pictures of that party and give them to the center.
Oh, that's nice. That's
And all the pictures that I have, everything written about me, they just sent me copies of the PBS thing. This girl did a whole thesis on me. She brought me a copy the other day, but I wasn't here. She'll be back. I have German newspapers, Norwegian, Japanese, Brazilian.
wow.
TV interviews in Germany, where I'm in English and subtitles German. I have filed, when I die, that whole thing goes to the center, like one man's life.
Awesome.
What am I going to do when I'm dead?
No, that's beautiful.
great.
More people should do that. That's why Stormy, when she was going through the displacement at the Chelsea,
Yeah.
that should have never happened. All of her history should have been donated to the center. Yeah.
Well, they did her life on PBS, and she promised me a copy for 15 years. It was called Stormy, the Lady of the Jewel Box.
Wow.
And she had a copy. I think she lost it or something happened. That's why she kept putting me off. Excuse me, because I told her I would play it here. Everybody should get to know who Stormy the There is.
Exactly.
Like when I travel, I was the Grand Marshal in Colorado, State where I played, Florida, what's that other state, upstate? Oh, Connecticut. Somebody says I'm from New England. I go, where? They go, Connecticut. I go, same thing.
That's what I'm saying.
And I said I always enjoyed sitting in the car waving at people. I have no fucking idea who they are. Pardon my French. And then but in Florida, ex-New Yorkers.
Exactly.
Everyone I never liked was down there. And everybody would laugh. I had a lot of fun. I cut the ribbons to a couple of gay and lesbian centers, one in Kutztown.
Oh,
You know, they invite me up. I do a little speech, then the questions and answers by the alumni and the students. And it's fun. I volunteer, you know.
That's great.
All I do is pay my expenses. I don't need $1,000 for a speech, like, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I'm just, who knew? You know, they always go, thank you. I always say, no, thank you. I didn't know the police were going to raid it that night. We were used to raids.
Yeah.
Normally, when the police raided the gay bar, it was for this. They would either throw us out or line half of us up. And the cop would not even look up. He had a piece of paper to go, name, and I would go, Fenwick Fingernail. Next, Georgie Wolf Girl. Queen Elizabeth II. Never looked up once. Just kept writing. We spent the night in the bullpen. The next day, the judge either said, you're wasting my time, throw him out, or $20 fine. And then the people who owned the bar would send Enid Garling down. She was known as Enid the Hat then. She would pay the fine for us, and we'd go back to the bar that night. She's in her mid-90s and still practices. She's still down at Center Street.
Oh, wow.
She's a public defender now in the area. But she always only handed gay trials.
Good for her.
She got 99% of the people off by bribing. It was well known she had sex in hallways, blowjobs, corners, to judges, clerks, lawyers to get her clients off. When I saw her the last time, she goes behind the bench like she owns it, and she gives candy. She ain't gonna give anything else anymore.
Yeah.
And everybody still loves her. And we'd go back to the bar and it stayed open. But when they raided this place, it was the Vice Squad, Center Street. They kept calling for backup, and the 6th precinct says, nobody's here, we're busy.
Wow.
It's when we set the bar, after we broke the windows, behind the windows was like a plywood wall. That got knocked down. Inside was a few of the bosses, 1 or 2 of the bartenders who couldn't jump over the bar fast enough. A couple of drag queens, a couple of lesbians in tuxedos, suits. Now remember, in those days, if you're impersonating another person, you had to have 3 articles of your original clothing on underneath, or it was a 6-inch jack turn.
Wow.
It's crazy. So they would actually make sure the girl with the crew cut and the a shirt and tie on, had 3 articles of female clothes on it. A couple of customers and the cops. But when we started running out of everything to film, there was nothing. We actually set the garbage cans in the air on fire that flung them through the windows, setting the bar on fire with the police still in it.
Wow.
That's when the second precinct had to send the sticks, and they broke fingers, wrists, elbows, and Washington Square Park wound up the battleground where everybody was taken to because hospitals didn't want us in there. You know, it was against the law to serve an alcoholic beverage for Native American or known homosexual. The old times. So if you went to a bar and they thought you were gay, you had to sit this way. If you wanted to talk to somebody, through the mirror. You couldn't sit sideways. You couldn't send a person a drink you didn't know. That was Julius's, one of the first. When you went in there, they let us in, but you had to spend. Now it's the oldest gay bar in America, and that, you know, but they had rules and regulations there because all the bartenders were old Irishmen with the aprons to the floor, the mustaches, Mickey Smith and Joey, hat. They were the old-fashioned Irishmen.
Wow. From different times.
And as we were taking over more, and the neighborhood people said, this is our bar, all the gay people gave all the straight guys and girls, boys and girls, nicknames. Now, Mickey Smith, big Irishman, his sons were cops and firemen, grandfather, and they would roll on the floor laughing when somebody wanted a drink. They go, Margaret, can I have another drink? And they were going, this is my father. They're calling Margaret. They thought it was his son. And I know his wife died. I think he's like still alive but not well. He's got to be a real old. He was the last of the union bartenders in one of the bars. Wow. He was union. They could never fire him unless they had all kinds of reasons. In fact, he used to go there every Thursday to pick up his pension. They had to give him money because he was a union employee. Oh, okay. And but then he got sick, and he came in like once every couple of months. I hope he's still alive because he was a wonderful guy. Then Freddie Lutz took it over. And once a month on Sundays, they close off that block by Julius's, and they challenge each other to a stickball game. It was Lutz's Slutzes against Mickey's Fat Bucks. And you see these old men running through bases with their pants falling down, Peter Tails with a big belly. But as soon as the church bells went off at noon, everything was dropped. Everybody's right in the bar drinking their Bloody Marys.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
They had the block closed off. It was so much fun. And the times have changed.
That's when stickball was such a major thing in New York City, too.
And bars were fun.
And bars were
I'm sorry, I go to them, but I don't enjoy them anymore.
Yeah.
You go because it's there and your friends are there.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
They asked me on CNN when they did my life for the 40th, my favorite bar, and I said they all closed 25 years ago.
So,
and the owner goes, "Why didn't you say Stonewall?" I said, "It was my favorite bar, 1969."
Exactly.
It don't work here.
Did it close? It closed after that, right after that?
Yeah, because of what we did to the police. That became one was a bagel lounge, leather store, Chinese restaurant, clothing store, restaurant called New Jimmy's, clothing store again. Then it became Stonewall, because Jimmy died and he owed people money, so they took it over, changed it to Stonewall. That became the nail salon. This became the original name, Stonewall Inn. This place is called Beatrice's Stonewall Inn.
Oh, okay.
Every once in a while, somebody will come in and say, my mother and father had their wedding reception here in 1955, 56.
Oh, wow.
Back there was a wishing well in that little room there. When Jimmy's had it, it was a kitchen. And the food was bad. It was a beautiful place, but bad. So then they made that a video room.
Oh, okay.
And then they put a bar back there, which was illegal, and they had to stop that.
Wow. And when did the original sign come down?
That came down in the old years. As soon as they started renovating the building and cutting it in half and making 2 stores out of it. Because remember, that was an emergency exit there. You had to go in and out that way. But the arch, you could go in the bathrooms on one side and come out the other side also.
Oh, okay. Because the last time I was here was in 91. That was the last time. Yeah.
Well, after the riots, I worked at Mama's Chicken Rip for a while, and the big drink of that day was champagne.
I remember champagne.
That was the worst thing in the world, but it had alcohol in it. Then I worked as a bouncer at the Ninth Circle. And the owner came over to me one day because I was helping out a friend by relieving him so he had days off. And the owner says, as of Tuesday, you're no longer going to help us. I said, what did I do wrong? He says, nothing. John and I decided we're going to try you out as a bartender. I said, Bobby, I don't drink, and I never had a drink. How come you learn to do both? 23 years ago.
Wow. And you still haven't.
And I'm still here. Oh, I still drink.
Okay.
I learned to drink real good. And I worked there for almost 25 years. Then Bobby died, and the police raided it because he was paying off like you wouldn't believe. And I worked at Julius's for 5 years. And then a friend of mine asked me to help him out in the rest of the bar of town called Circles, only lasted 6 months. He wanted me to bring my friends up so he can show everybody how crowded it was and sell the place. And that happened. And then all of a sudden, I got a phone call from Tony Dana, who was managing his place for Dominic. And they said, Treatford, come in and talk. Would you like to work a day or two? I said, yeah, I'll do Thursdays. He said, how about Thursday and Saturday? I said, fine. All of a sudden, it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. All of a sudden, it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I said, you're killing me. So when they closed the place, and I was in Brazil, I got a phone call from the people that owned the duplex, and they said, we'd like to talk to you. As soon as I heard that, I knew they wanted me. When I came back, they offered me the job. I said, I only want Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They said, fine, it's all yours.
That's excellent.
I said, I'm 7. I was 68 or something. I go, I get my Social Security. I want to kill myself.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Life only gets easier. So it's
Yeah.
supposed to get harder.
Because I had to go to Brazil 3 times a year, but unfortunately, American money died.
Mm-hmm.
And I checked for profit. They don't want dollars anymore. So I'm staying in America lately and hanging in
Oh, okay.
until the money gets better.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we're glad you're still up here because Florida will make you old. We lived there for 3.5 years.
But when I went down here, they said, when are you going to move down here? I said, why? You're all dead and don't know it. That's what I told Matty from Matty's on the Drive and Paul Hugo. That's what I told them. Well, we don't come out in the daytime. We sit by our air conditioners. Hello?
Yeah.
It's too hot to come out. I walked the day of the gay at the Pride Parade. I walked from Matty's on the Drive to Sideline. Didn't know it was like over a mile. And the index was 113. And when they said, how could you do it both ways? I said, I go to Brazil when it's 120.
So you've got
This is winter.
That's great. That's great.
But that's my history in the village.
That's
And how do you feel about the gentrification of the West Village? I mean, how it's going?
It's changing a lot. I know, I see. It's changed for the worse. There's a lot of straight people moving in and different groups moving in that are not nice people. We have a lot of trouble with the park across the street in summer.
Oh, really?
You know, but all the drug addicts don't want to use the bathroom. I go, no. They throw bottles and fight with each other. In fact, the people next door actually had to put a gate there so they would, 20 of them would sit on the stoop and just bother everybody in all the bars. Give me a cigarette, want to buy drugs. And yeah, please.
well, we were shocked at what just happened here not that long ago.
Oh, the bashings?
Yeah.
Well, I hear about it all the time, but I don't see it all the time. I hear about it because it's always late at night. I get off at 9 if I'm not home. If I'm home, I don't want to know. I come back.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
But the one in here, the DA came in and asked me if I was here. It's 2:30 in the morning. I'm in the nursing home. And he laughed. I heard about the one where they chased some kid down the train station, and he went up the other side. And when they went up the side to get him, his friends were waiting, and they jumped somebody.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we noticed it's changed a lot.
Some of the bars have signs, beware of pickpockets.
Yeah. Well, I used to work at the Eagle, so I remember the Eagle's Nest, the original Eagle's Nest, and that was always a major problem. Yeah.
And because you know what it is, when I watch these kids on the park, they see somebody go in the bathroom, they follow them in. They either bunk against them or they ask them for money. So when I see that, everybody will laugh because I go right in the bathroom, make sure I'm washing my hands.
Yeah.
I'll wash it for half an hour as long as they stay. Because and when they go, you don't like me because I'm black. I said, no, I don't like you because you don't have a dime in your pocket. You're not going to buy a drink and you're going to annoy my customers.
Exactly. Well, that's why we want to play a part in
trying to hit the teenagers that are here and try to create a movie night for them, and with questions and answers after, because I think they should definitely be educated on our history.
That's why I go to colleges and high schools and everything and make speeches, because to the younger generation, we had a underage night here with Dominic. 18 to 21 had no idea about this one. They came in just to look in the mirror and dance and do the Vogue.
Yeah.
Little girls, none of them were masculine. They were like little teeny children. And thank God we stopped that. But because old men were trying to smuggle in drinks.
Yeah. It becomes
But they have no idea about the history of this bar. The Imperial Court of New York now has we're getting younger members on. We have a couple of 20-year-olds
Oh, nice.
that want to dress up and be fancy and put money back into the community.
That's excellent.
And we're trying to get. I invited some of the girls from our pool team. They're all Asian girls. They went to the night of 1,000 gallons, had so much fun. I said, "Why don't you just join the court?"
Yeah.
And everything is cheaper then, because if you're a member of the court, you get discounts. Oh, I didn't know that, so they're going to come to the next meeting because I think we need more lesbians in our group. We only have like 3, and we're the biggest court. I was in Rhode Island for their coronation, and they had women that couldn't get in. They were big. I mean, big.
Yeah.
And I looked and I said, everybody's hugging and kissing them. And yet, if this was a bar that they went into in New York, nobody would talk to them.
Yes, right.
I mean, the court embraces. I was kissing one guy, Austin, for 2.5 years. Just found out he was once a woman.
Wow.
Now, I know Bryce McKenzie is a girl that sticks out like this big. She's got muscles, but she's got a beard. And her mother and father and her straight brother, they're all members of the court supporting their daughter who wants to become a man. And I love that.
That's exactly what we
That's why we had hustler bars in the 50s and 60s and 70s, because parents would throw their kids out with the clothes they're wearing. They'd run away from home. And depends on who you met or you would hang out. You'd be a drag queen, a drug addict, or a hustler.
Yeah.
But nowadays, there are no more bars like that because, well, first of all, every city and town has a gay bar. And now you have online and in the back of magazines.
Yeah, online has been the death of a lot of the things that used to be are no more. And that's why documenting everything, people like yourself and just the history in general is so important.
Every once in a while, one of the kids always say, "Did you have a hustle tree?" And I was the guard. I was one of the best hustlers in New York. I said, I made more money than anybody. And they always go, "How much did you make?" And I go, "Now remember, it was a long time ago. 2 goats, arrowheads, and bees." And they go, "You're an asshole." I tell them I was the bus boy at the Last Supper. I was the go-go boy at the Last Supper. I was at Lincoln's inauguration because, a lot of them think I'm in my 50s because they say, you don't look your age.
At all.
So I'm not telling them how old I am. I'm not going to let them guess I'm still in my late 50s.
Yeah.
Wow, there's so much more to hear about Tree, and he will be featured on our upcoming shows on Sunday, June 12th at 6 p.m., and our wrap-up show on June 27th at 5 p.m.
Which will be our 2.5-hour special, wrap-up special from 5 to 7:30 Eastern Standard Time.
That's 2.5 hours of Magic Pride.
And surprises.
On a side note, the Imperial Court of New York, sex advice columnist Dan Savage and his partner Terry Miller, and the Reverend Pat Baumgartner, pastor of the Metropolitan Community Church of New York City, will all take part as the Grand Marshals of the 2011 New York City Pride March.
That should be great. Their influence this year for their float is actually Coney Island.
So it should be something to see. The Imperial Court of New York.
Well, their group in general is just something to see. They're so colorful and vibrant and just great. It was also great to meet Tree. Great person, lots of history.
And a Stonewall veteran. You can't get any better than that.
And he's got jokes. Dude's kind of funny. Dude's funny. LGBT all-star.
Definitely.
All right. Well, our next history tidbit will be read from our blog, BackintheGays.com, that was posted back in March 26, 2011, titled "The Flag 1978, Our Colors Don't Run, San Francisco." On Saturday afternoon, March 19th, while discussing the topic of Pride on Roundtable with QueerPublicRadio.com, we touched on the subject of the Rainbow Pride flag. The flag was created by Gilbert Baker an activist artist born in 1951, often referred to as the gay Betsy Ross. He was discharged from the Army in 1972 and shortly after took up sewing. Gilbert was often asked to make banners for protests and gay pride marches. Gilbert was friends with Harvey Milk, whom he had first met in the mid-1970s. First raised in San Francisco, California on June 25, 1978, the original flag contained 8 colors: hot pink, sexuality; red, life;
Orange, healing; yellow, sunlight;
green, nature; turquoise, magic and art;
blue, indigo, for serenity and harmony; and violet for spirit.
This is the original 1978 color layout for the Pride flag. Hot pink and turquoise were removed from production began on the flag because of the unavailability of those 2 colors. The flag we use today is the commercial version with only 6 stripes. A person who designs or makes flags is a vexillographer, spelled
VEXILLOGRAPHER.
vexillographer.
A person who designs or makes flags.
And our next history tidbit is going to be
The pink triangle and the part it played in the Holocaust.
where was it posted?
It was posted on BackintheGays.com. First posted on July 28, 2010. The history of the pink triangle begins before World War II, during Adolf Hitler's rise to power. During that time, German law prohibited gay relations and was revised by Hitler in 1935 to include French kissing, showing affection, embracing, and gay fantasies, as well as sexual acts. Estimated 25,000 convicted offenders between the years of 1937 to 1939 were sent to prison and then later moved into concentration camps. When the inmates were sentenced to be sterilized, it was most often accomplished by castration. Hitler in 1942 revised punishment for homosexuality was extended to death instead of castration. The pink triangle was one of the more popular iconic historical symbols for the gay community. During World War II, GLBT were one of the many people that were targeted for extermination by the Nazis and unfortunately are rarely mentioned or overshadowed by other ethnic groups that were also affected. When lesbians, bis, gays, and transgenders were arrested, they were given uniforms with different colored triangles, the badge of shame, to indicate that there were
there because of their sexuality.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Pink was used for gays and lesbians. Black was used to mark asocial and work-shy individuals, including prostitutes, Roma, and others in the camp. Pink triangle overlapping in a 69 position over the yellow triangle was used for homosexual Jews in Nazi concentration camps.
And it's definitely amazing how one ethnicity or background can claim they were most affected by this.
When everybody was affected.
Yeah, this affected all people. Gay, straight, bi. It affected humanity. It was a human issue more than it was it became more of a human issue. And our next show will continue an informal afternoon with Tree, where you'll be able to hear some of the events that happened the night of the Stonewall riots. The history tidbit will be the Ninth Circle Steakhouse, which was a post that was written by BacktOStonewall.com.
Also where Tree worked at one point.
Yep. So, it'll be interesting to share that post. And also Julius, bar, New York City, and institution since 1864, and a few surprises.
And did you know that Julius's is probably the oldest bar, if not the oldest gay bar now in the city?
Yeah, I think it's actually the oldest bar in the country, next to the one in Amsterdam. There's a really old one in Amsterdam. Yeah, that I actually want to do something in the near future with. Well, that's it. This is a wrap. And we'll see you June 12th. And if you see us on Christopher Street, say hello.
Definitely. So see you at 6 p.m. on June 12th.
Bye.
See ya.
Take
care.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
On queerpublicradio.com.
And BackintheGays.com.
Bye.